Vamos a dar inicio.
Greetings, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started with our webinar. Be reminded, everyone, that there is simultaneous interpretation. Please go to the bottom of your screen and look for the icon with the globe. It's a globe, it's a circle, and it says interpretation. And then you can choose the language of your preference. We welcome everyone. I am Rita Espafadora. I am in charge of the capacity development program as well as inclusion of the Indigenous Foundation, a program called IPART that we'll be explaining later. And together with me, we'll have presenting and answering your questions, Catherine Coronado. Catherine, yeah, can you hear me? Hello? It was not working. Hi. Yes. Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, great. I think there was a problem with the video. I don't know if you see me, but good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join the webinar. I'm also part of the IF, the Indigenous Foundation of SSC. I'm here with Rita to answer your questions, any question you may have about this fellowship program to be able to apply. Thank you very much, Catherine. In just a few minutes, we'll be giving a brief presentation about the IF, the Indigenous Foundation, if you don't know me, and the IPAR program where Catherine and I work, and some other colleagues that have joined us today. Before we start with the presentation, we want to ask you, all of you, that you please write your questions in the chat box, which is also at the bottom of the screen, because most likely there'll be several questions that we don't want any question to be left unanswered. So we can probably write some of the answers in the chat box. And we can have a 1 hour of this webinar and use it more efficiently. Once again, thank you very much. Before speaking about the fellowship program of the IF, the Indigenous Foundation IF, tell you about IF. Next slide, please. The Indigenous Foundation of FSC was founded in 2018. It's led by Indigenous peoples and it works for Indigenous peoples as part of the FSC family, which is certifying body, a forest certifying institution, the biggest one in the world. And we, as a foundation, we're based in Panama, but we have a global scope. We want to co-create solutions, and I mean indigenous solutions based on nature, nature-based solutions to promote the rights of the indigenous peoples and their self-development worldwide. Even though we work globally, we also work regionally, and especially in some countries such as Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, and soon in some countries in Africa and also in Asia. Next. The IPART program, this is the acronym for the name in English, the Indigenous Peoples Alliance for Rights and Development. Again, the Indigenous Peoples Alliance for Rights and Development, IPART. It's a cooperation effort between the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, and FSC, the Forest Stewardship Council. And we've come together to implement this program for 3 years, the coming 3 years, and then this fellowship program is part of this IPART initiative. Next. Our goal, IPART's goal, is to enable indigenous peoples globally to strengthen their capacities so that they themselves can manage and develop their communities based on their priorities, based also on their traditional knowledge, and use natural resources properly and while respecting their rights. IPART is based on three pillars. The first one focuses on capacity development, especially of indigenous organizations, but also important stakeholders so that they may understand their worldview and their traditions of the indigenous people so they can work with them. Other institutions can work with them and they can approach them while having an understanding, let's say a more solid understanding as to how indigenous peoples work, what their priorities and their worldview is. Also for indigenous peoples themselves to understand how the other institutions work, for example, the private sector, to see how it works and how governments work. So then we can create bridges. Now, the second pillar is that once we've created this knowledge base and this understanding amongst the parties, we can create linkages, multi-sectorial linkages with different sectors of society to be able to make decisions to improve the living conditions of the indigenous peoples. Now, the third pillar of IPART's got to do with sustainability and the economic development of indigenous peoples. Indigenous peoples, we're going to call them IP, indigenous peoples. So we want to promote entrepreneurial efforts, business capacities of IPs, and also the approach to the private sector within the schemes of indigenous economies while always respecting their culture and rights. Next. So as part of the IPART program, and mostly in the pillar of capacity development that I just mentioned, and also focusing on the support to pillars 2 and 3 of economic development and greater political outreach. That's how we developed this program by FSC. That's got its first edition this year, and we're going to explain to you so that later we go into the QA session. Go ahead. What is the objective of the Indigenous Foundation or the Indigenous Fellowship Program? We want to strengthen Indigenous people's skills, knowledge, capacities, and networks with the aim to facilitate the implementation of projects in their communities. Now, those candidates who participate, they will present their projects either at their community level or in the region or the country, and then that will be helpful for an experience exchange and a learning process amongst the participants and maybe with other experts of indigenous peoples that may participate in this program. There's another microphone open. If Go ahead. This year, for our first edition, we've chosen 3 main topics on which we need to focus the programs and let's call them the candidates need to look for projects that align to these 3 areas. That's climate change and environment, land rights, and indigenous economies. So in addition to the 4 programs we need to keep this clear in our minds, these 3 areas for this first edition of the fellows or the fellowships. Now, general eligibility criteria. This is general criteria for all candidates. The first criterion is to be an indigenous person. Number 2, be a resident of a developing country located either in Latin America, Asia, or Africa. The third point or the third criterion is to have experience leading or supporting indigenous peoples organizations. It's very important that the fellowships are aimed or are addressed to candidates who have that concern to support their communities, because this is also a leadership program. What we want to make sure is that these candidates may be multiplying agents for change in their communities. The fourth piece of criterion is that they have experience developing or implementing projects or initiatives with indigenous peoples communities. Fifth, have demonstrated engagement with indigenous peoples' rights and in areas related to self-development, self-governance, and self, help me in this word, how do you say that? Reliance?
Autoposibilidad de hacer cosas ellos mismos.
That they can do things themselves. The next criterion is to have interest in projects aligned with IPART 3 objectives. Now, this is all found in the website of the fellowships. You can go over the objectives that I mentioned before. It's capacity development, political advocacy or outreach, and economic development. And of course, they have to have a good working knowledge of the language spoken in the organization, spoken in the world, right? That's English, Spanish, French, or Portuguese, because we'll have opportunities for these four languages to, I don't know, there are great possibilities in our in other programs. Next, we have four sub-programs. Like I said before, I'd like to explain them to you. I'd like to explain the three first, and then Catherine will be explaining the fourth one since she'll be in charge of that fourth sub-program. So let's look at them one by one so you learn more about them. The first sub-program is called Young Indigenous Practitioners. Many have asked questions about the age range, and in this case, the program is aiming or is targeting a specific group of young people amongst indigenous peoples. We want to create and form, train new generations of the youth that may have the tools to make contributions in their community or in their countries. This is an opportunity to spend 2 to 2.5 months working in one of FSC IF offices in Panama in our facilities to choose one of the programs, capacity development, economic development, or business development, to get to know how an NGO works so they can see how the foundation works, the work we do, and then they may choose one of those three pillars, but the idea is that they may also share with the other rest of the team who's here in Panama on other topics such as monitoring, supervision, finance, administration, economic empowerment, work with women, social inclusion, and so on during that period of time. Like we said, we mostly speak Spanish in the office, but it'd be, let's say, an advantage if they spoke English because we also have some members of our team who speak only English and they may serve as mentors for these young individuals. And some of the communication we have with partners outside of Panama, it's all in English. So this program has been designed for professionals who are under 35 years of age. Again, under 35 years of age. Requirements for this sub-program is that they have candidates, applicants have to have a university degree. They need to be holders of a university degree. The program hopes that in the future, most likely, will create the capabilities in a group of professional young people, young professionals who may be the future faces of the foundation, either here or in other countries, so that our team may have more and more participation of IPs, of indigenous peoples, in positions of leadership, technical management, and so on. Again, the person, the candidate, has to be 35 years old. That's the top. And to apply, we've given the chance to prepare a video or a PDF or a Word document, maybe a slide presentation. We also have the Canvas program, amongst others. The method you decide, you choose. In that video and the document, you can tell us who you are, what you've been doing, what's motivated you to participate in the program, how the program that you've chosen amongst the four sub-programs will help you do a better job in what you do. Also, describe the project that you want to implement. That's really important. So the idea is not just to participate the fellowship, but have a project in mind that you may be doing already. You are taking the first steps, or that you may be completing the teaching phase, or you are planning, I don't know. But then with the support of this opportunity, you can implement it, and you can have achievable results which you can bring back to your country or to your community once the fellowship is over. And any other relevant information you may want to let us know, for example, the work you do and so on. We also ask the applicants to send us two support letters from Indigenous peoples organizations, IPOs. If in your community there's only one authority and you don't have two IPOs, two Indigenous peoples organizations, do send us a note, a support note, and then write in the form a description that says that in your community there aren't any other IP organizations, and therefore you can only send one support letter. That'll be enough information for us, and we can understand that in this case you cannot fulfill that requirement of the two support letters. So it's important that you understand this clearly before you fill out the form, because when you fill out the form, which is also included, is also found the website that we've been sharing through the social uh, networks, to the social media. There in the form, you can fill out very easily all the information. There are two or three sites or places where you have to upload some information. For example, the letter, you need to scan it, upload it. And the video you've made, you also need to upload it. So you need to have those documents ready before uh, you submit the application. So the deadline is February 28th to fill out the application in the system. Next.
Y hablar del formulario. Le
We want to
vamos a
talk
mostrar
about the form now. We're going to show you the form
se familiaricen con él.
so you become familiar with it. All these forms are in the four languages. You choose the language of your preference and then you can fill it out. Here's the basic candidate information, their email, their phone number, the country or residence, their nationality, which indigenous group they belong to, the gender, if you want to answer that question, the date of birth, and then they have to choose one of the four sub-programs. Should any one of you be interested in more than one sub-program, that is possible. You may upload or submit your application, but you need to run different processes, like two independent processes. You need to fill out the form twice, and you need to select all the programs, fill it all out, fulfill the requirements, and if you want to apply to another subprogram, okay, so you need to fill out the form again with the second subprogram and filling out all the information that that subprogram requests. Here in this section, you need to give us an assessment of the languages you speak so that later we can conduct an assessment as to where you would be better located in case of subprogram one or subprogram two. Here's where I tell you that you can or you should already have, for example, the the video, or it could be a PowerPoint presentation, a PPT, or a Word document, or your motivation presentation, whatever in the program. It should all be ready so that when you fill out the form and you come to this step, you just add a file and then you upload the file. Also later when it says to upload the support letters of the Indigenous Peoples Organizations, the IPOs. Okay, once you've done that, when you upload, then we will receive the applications and we'll be studying them. We'll organize them based on region and then start with the selection process. Next. The second program or the second sub-program actually is Indigenous Leadership and Networking. It's part of FSC. It's part of our strategic partners. We're part of the FSC, right? FSC family. So here we want to give the chance to candidates so that they may exchange with the FSC offices that we've contacted. These are in Portugal, Mexico, Canada, and New Zealand. The idea then is for us to have chosen those countries. It's because they have a language variety, language diversity that may help us place the selected individuals in countries where the language is spoken, the language that they know is spoken. We're also trying now to add to this sub-program the FSC office in Africa and in Brazil, but we are still pending some response from them. So, with this, I'd like to tell you that we have the opportunity
Candidatos seleccionados
to place the selected candidates in these countries according to the language they may speak.
la idea es que participen del día a día
The
de
idea
una
is to participate on a daily basis with forest operations. Some of these operations are managed by IPs, by indigenous peoples, others are not, but there's a very well built relation with IPs, and they're a point of reference for participants. So during that period, not only for subprogram 2, but also for subprogram 1, 3, and 4, we will do training on very specific topics on the FPIC, free prior and informed consent, also about indigenous cultural landscapes and other tools that together with FHC we've been developing so that there'll be a wider program. Maybe other topics will be relevant for IPs. Next. Requirements for this second subprogram are as follows. Here, you do not need to have a university degree and there's not any age restriction. Again, you don't need a university degree and there's not an age range. It's open. We know that a lot of representatives of IPs work on forests and they don't need to have a university degree to be able to participate. As a matter of fact, they already have a lot of information and knowledge. So in this case, for the second subprogram, the other requirements are just the same as the first one, the video, the Word document or PDF, describe the motivation, the program that you chose to participate in, why, what's your purpose, how do you think this is going to benefit you and the community, how is it going to help you do your job better, any other information, again, the support letters from IPOs, and fill out the form. Next. The third subprogram, we thought, let's do something wider, more open on capacity development, where the candidate chooses himself or herself some training aligned to the topics of climate change, environment, land rights, and indigenous economies. It may be a certificate, it could be a diploma, it could be in their own country, it could be in another country, it may be virtual, online, or it may be face to face. But the idea is to gain some academic recognition at the end of the training, at the end of the class. That the candidate has to find it. They need to choose it. In case they need a prior approval, they will send that approval to us as part of the selection process. I mean, application form that they've sent to the institution. It's an open program, but it has a threshold of 10,000 US dollars. That's the top. For example, if the candidate decides that they want to attend a program in another country, winning $10,000, they have to estimate the investment that is needed for their ticket, their stay, their insurance, and if there's any record, any tuition, anything they have to pay at an academic institution, it needs to be there as well. In this case, we can provide support if it's needed, but if the program, yes, the program has to be chosen by the candidates. We will not be intervening in that case in choosing the program, the learning program they want to follow. Next, requirements. Here, Not necessarily do they need to have a degree already. Depends on the program they're pursuing. If the program demands that they already have a university degree or a bachelor's degree, a BA, that they must have already completed a BA, that will be determined by the program they're applying to and not by ourselves. The candidate will select the program they want to attend, where they want to study, and they apply. There isn't any age restriction, and the requirements that remain are just like in the other two sub-programs. Next. I'm going to give the floor to Catherine Coronado so that she explains to us uh, sub-program 4, Business Development, before we move on to the QA session. Go ahead, Catherine. Thank you, Rita. Once again, good morning or afternoon, everyone who's here. The last sub-program is Business Development. These are businesses led by indigenous peoples or by young indigenous individuals globally. This opportunity is open to indigenous youth entrepreneurs to promote the economic, social, and cultural development in their communities. And the objective is to work in the areas of their culture, tradition, worldviews, also managing the indigenous people's landscapes. So mostly, like we said, it's aiming at young people. It's targeting young people, young indigenous peoples of the 4 regions that we've mentioned before. It has 2 specific components. The first one, indigenous business skills and knowledge. We want to strengthen those. And also indigenous traditional business management to continue to consolidate their initiatives. What does that mean? We want to strengthen um, their skills through coaching and especially in entrepreneurial skills, but especially focusing on their culture, traditions, and worldviews. That's the first component. The second component is something with an indigenous accelerated investment, which aims to have some seed funds of 3,000 US dollars, which need to be executed in the 6 months following the reception to consolidate their initiatives of entrepreneurial ideas, especially led by young people, indigenous young people. So those are the 2 main components. Next slide. Here we show the requirements. It's aiming young indigenous entrepreneurs between the age of 18 and 30. We know that there have been a lot of questions about the age range, but we are hoping to give these opportunities to young people. Maybe in the future we can expand the age range, but at the moment, this program is targeting that specific population, both men and young women who have entrepreneurial ideas from Africa, Asia, South America, and Mesoamerica. They're all invited. They must have participated in programs or participating programs projected or implemented by USAID will be implementing that. If they hold any kind of certificate in, that'd be nice if you can share that, if they can upload those certificates to say that they've participated, they've been supported by USAID funds or programs. That also helps us see that this has been a process that has already started. It's not a brand new process. These are not new initiatives, brand new initiatives or incentives, but these are uh, businesses that are already ongoing, they're already starting. So this is the scope of the program. There have been some questions about this. At this moment, we don't have any program for new businesses or new initiatives. The idea is that they may have already started, they are already implemented, and they're being developed now in these economic sectors, as we mentioned here. For example, forestry and ecosystemic services, agricultural, agroforestry, or livestock. It may be industrial sector, which may include fabrics, handicrafts, processed agricultural products, just among other similar products. In the area of services here, that could be um, financial services, sustainable tourism, sanitation or health, and any other activities in the service sectors, technology, education, and communication as well. Any kind of these endeavors or companies in this area. And also we talk about cultural or orange economies that has to do with traditional and mm, let's say businesses or traditional practices. We encourage you that you keep in mind that when you're applying, talk about topics that are cross-cutting in the execution of these activities. What do I mean by that? Is that through this initiative or this entrepreneurial effort, the candidate or the business person may promote cultures and traditions of the indigenous peoples, ancestral knowledge. They should also promote social inclusion, and they look at gender equality between men and women, also innovation, sustainability, how you what you do relates to any of those areas. It could be related to climate mitigation, or adaptation to climate change. It doesn't mean that it's got to be one single line. It could be that the business or entrepreneur, the entrepreneurial activity, may be working in different areas. It could be several of those. It could be one of them. The idea is that you can show it in and explain it, including your proposal. Just like the other sub-programs that we presented, the proposal needs to be accompanied by two supporting letters by IPOs. They need to be certified by indigenous peoples organizations, but there's also a chance that if in your community, the community where you are, there's only one IPO that may give you a support letter that may certify that business, then you can send just one letter, but then explain the reason why there's only one letter. You can explain it in a letter, explain the situation that you only have one support letter. We know the areas and the regions are different. We know the limitations, but you need to report it. Tell us. Of course, you need to fill out the form. You can do it virtually. And the proposals may be submitted in different formats. Why do we talk about different formats? We want you to be creative and innovative and also to respond to the needs of the context of each community and each territory and country. So you may send a video, a PDF document, you can do PowerPoint, you can do Word, anything. Those who use Canvas or any other option. Okay. The idea is that the proposal you send us, you need to show general information. I mean, these are the points that it should include. First of all, general information. The title of an entrepreneurship, the business, where is it located, what country, province, department, city, community. You need to define the political division of each area where they are, where the candidates are located, the economic sector also. Remember those that we've mentioned already, the agriculture, industry, services, where, what area, cultural services, or the third economy, or the orange economy, and so on, and cross-cutting topics. And then you need to mention the letter, but it needs to be attached. Okay, the supporting letters need to be attached. This what describe what the entrepreneurship is. Tell it in your own words. Think that you're selling this business initiative. It's a proposal for an entrepreneurial effort and the impact it will have or it has on their communities in different lines. It could be cross-cutting topics, social, environmental concerns, what the impact is of your business, of your entrepreneurship. How does it impact your community? Include the number of families that may be beneficiaries of this proposal. The who is, of course, describe your organization. Not only say what the initiative is, but who has put it together, who participates. Is there a manager? Is there an accounting department? Does he have a financial, technical area? Tell us about the organization. Who's in charge? Um, when it was created, the year of incorporation, also any contact information, Uh, Also, what needs you may have as an organization. Many times, many entrepreneurships have some issues with accounting, the accounting management. Also, mm, protocols as a company. I don't know, as an organization, what financing mechanisms do you have? How do you knock on doors? How do you do your marketing? Also include that information, what needs you have as an organization, and also some technical concerns to strengthen those business aspects. What we mean by that is that you want to promote, I don't know, the economic empowerment of indigenous women. So you need to work on social equality, gender equality, anything that may be important to indigenous women. That's just one example, but there may be many more that you may be interested in and the organization requires. Why is okay? Why you think you should be selected? You say, I want to be selected because this, and that, because of what I'm doing. And also mention the expected result of if you are selected. What do you expect to achieve? Now, how and when is how you're going to use the resources, the seed funds. If you are appointed, if you are selected to be strengthened as an organization, and also for these accelerating seed capital, how am I going to use that? How are you going to use it? How is it going to help? How are you going to implement it? That could be for training for the organization members. It could be for the implementation of the company, for operation. For example, if you have a coffee growing initiative, I'm going to use these funds to train the people with whom we work, the women. In addition to that, we're going to buy some piece of equipment to, I don't know, mill the coffee better. I'm sorry if I'm speaking just examples, just things that top of my mind, right? Came to my mind for greater equipment, for technical capacity. You're going to invest in marketing. Tell us how and you're going to invest the resources. Also, you need to have a budget and an execution schedule. Keep in mind the idea is to implement it in the coming 6 months after receiving the funds. We want to get as many proposals as possible that they answer all these questions. We'll analyze all the forms, we'll analyze the capabilities, the innovation, the creativity, the wit they have, and then from that group, we'll be selecting three winners, and that'll be done by a committee. We'll have a committee for all this and for all the other sub-programs. They'll be in charge of the selection process. After the selection takes place, we'll assess the first component for the organization strengthening to have the coaching. And after that, after the coaching, we'll identify if the organization, I mean, if we see that the resources are going to be used there in that area, or after the coaching, they may also decide to use the resources in a different area, in a different line. But that's a joint decision together with the organization and with the entrepreneurships that have been appointed, the three of them. This is in US dollars, right? So each country has their own currency, but we use dollars, and as such, that's how we um, assign the resources. That's it. So we go to the Q&A. We've already received some questions in the Q&A button. Yes, thank you, Catherine, for the explanation of the fourth sub-program. I've already answered some of the questions in the QA button, but let's go over this. We don't have much time. We've got about 15 minutes left. Let's share some of the questions we've received through email.
Hemos contestado, pero no importa, vamos a ir rapidito a ver cómo las podemos compartir. Aquí
Let's see if
dice,
we've not answered them already. It says, what requirements should I have and what steps should I follow to apply?
formulario, hay que revisar muy bien a
We
detalle.
already said that, the form, you need to look at the website, the one we shared, and the what we've shared through social media. So you learn about the program, see the requirements. Some of them have an age range others don't. Should you have any question, additional question, you can send it to us through email, even though we have already concluded the QA period. But the idea of this first edition is that everyone may feel they have enough information to make a decision whether to participate or not, or how to participate. We don't want anyone to be left out because they don't understand something. It says here that where is the 6 month fellowship? In which country? Like I said, so program one is here in Panama, and the person has to travel to Panama so that they may stay here in our offices, in our facilities, sharing with all the IF team, the Indigenous Foundation team. So program two will depend on the language and it will depend on the country of origin. If this is a fellow, they may go to Mexico, Portugal, New Zealand, or Canada, depending on the language and the country of origin. We'll make all efforts to make a rational, logical decision to place them and as fair as possible too. Should I only apply to one or of the subprograms? No, you can apply to several subprograms, but again, you need to do it independently, like follow the process for one subprogram and then for the other one that you want to apply. One application for each subprogram. So that means if you're going to apply to another one, you need to fill out the whole process, run the whole process all over again, focusing on each subprogram. Maybe a letter could be useful for for the two programs, but it's very important that the project that you present is related to the subprogram specifically. Dual programs have an age limit? No, only two of the four of them. And like we explained, we want to do a lot of work to support the young people, the young indigenous peoples, to train the new generations. So program two, again, this is a question through email. Which language should we speak depending on the country of reception? If you're in Latin America, most likely you'll be placed in Mexico, so you don't have any language barrier problems. Those who apply from countries where French is spoken, and for example, in Africa, we'll try to place them in Canada in the French-speaking part of the country and so on. The subprogram three of Indigenous Capacity Development, no, we don't have a list of programs that we've pre-selected. You need to look for the program of your interest as long as it is aligned to the three topics that we've chosen for this edition. It's climate change, and environment is one of the topics. The second one is land rights, and the third one, indigenous economies. If you travel overseas, take into account the insurance costs, the travel expenses, accommodation expenses, all of that in that country where you want to take that course or attend. Okay, in that case, but it could also be that you remain in your own country and you choose a contract that is a lot more expensive, but that don't need to spend on tickets or accommodation. But this is a decision that you need to make, what you are interested in. And as long as it's all together below 10,000 US dollars for this sub program. Sub questions about now questions about sub programs one, two, or three. What does the scholarship include? Does it include per diem or only living expenses? Yes, the programs one and two, they include the plane ticket, the insurance, their stay at a hotel, their food, the internal transportation, all of that is included, and that's something that the IF will be doing contrary to the third sub-program. But you should know that you have our support from here, from the logistics and administrative support for sub-program three. Is it exclusive dedication? Yes. In the case of programs one and two, Yes, exclusive dedication because the candidate has to travel to Panama and stay in Panama and work with us in office hours. In the case of objective two, they also have to travel outside their country. In case three, that's the only program where you may look for a certificate or a course or a diploma that suits your needs in your own country, and then you would need to travel. That's the only one. Maybe that doesn't demand exclusive dedication like full time. That'll depend on you. Catherine, can you explain subprogram four, the questions that we received? Thank you, Rita. Again, maximum age is an exclusion to participate in program. Yes, it's targeting young people, entrepreneurs, those who are leading a company or business. So we say 18 to 30 years old. That's the age range. What's the budget amount for component two? Remember, it has two subcomponents. The first part is to strengthen the organization through coaching. And then the second component is some funds, seed capital to accelerate the organization, not to start it, to accelerate it or to enlarge it. Again, that's 3,000 US dollars, like I said before. And the financial proposal, as much as possible, needs to be submitted in US dollars. In case you use your own currency, tell us what it is because we need to convert it to US dollars to make sure it's within the 3,000 US dollars when we review it. How long is the execution of the proposal? The resources need to be applied within a 6 month period. That's why the budget proposal needs to show that it'll be deployed along 6 months. But again, there's another advice and prior advice component before the resources are assigned. That'll depend on the needs of the business or entrepreneurship and the analysis that we will conduct. There was one more question about whether it's only entrepreneurships or businesses that have already been supported by USAID programs, or it could be, in this case, the question was whether they have been supported by FSC. What is important to us is that we verify that this business or entrepreneurship does comply with the requirements we demand. So, in case that it's not USAID, but it's been supported by other organization that supported it, we need a certifying document where it says that explains or certifies that there was prior coaching, there was prior support, and the contact information where we can, call them up and confirm that. We need a certificate for that because it's part of the selection process we need to conduct when we want to select the candidates. I don't think there were any more questions. I cannot see, but I think that's it. Those were all the questions that we got through email. I've also been answering the questions that you have posted in the QA button. Should there be any other question? We have two participants who raised their hand and we have 7 more minutes. I think we can give them the floor.
Aquí tenemos tres personas que han levantado la mano.
There are three people who raised their hand. Elisa, Elisa, go ahead. We need to let her speak. She needs to be authorized so she can participate. Hi, can you hear me? Yeah, we hear you. Go ahead. Oh, thank you so much. I just wanted to reconfirm. We as World Force, we are FSC members. We've been supporting young people in our area, and our intention is to support them so that they may be part of these programs. So that was my question. The way I understand it, I think it's possible that we can certify them so that they can apply. So my question has been answered. Thank you. Yes, that's right. They may apply. There's no restriction for them to participate. Go ahead. We look forward to receiving your or their application.
Hay otra mano, no veo el nombre aquí.
I don't see
Antonio.
their name. Antoniela, go ahead.
Sí, muy buenos días, ¿me escuchan?
Sí,
Good
adelante.
morning. Can you hear me? Yeah, we hear you. Oh, great.
Muchas gracias por la información.
Thank you for the
Es
information.
primera vez que me entero
It's
de
the first time I hear about
esta
this
institución que no tengo claro ni
institution.
a dónde
I did
pertenece.
not know where it was, where it belongs to.
Perdonen.
I'm sorry, my kid is here. It's a young child.
Pero qué alegría.
But I'm very pleased. I'm happy to hear this, that there are these opportunities for IPs, for indigenous peoples. I am very, very interested in all the programs that you have explained. I don't understand um, all. I joined the meeting late, but I'm going to take some time to review because I love to share with other networks that I'm from, that I belong to, that I'm close to. I mean, I'm a member of, so that they may apply as well. I love to apply to sub program number 3. So I have a lot of questions, but just a few. For example, how long? I understand it's 10,000 US dollars. That's the top amount. That's the sum of money for this experience. Could it be 5 months? How long will it last? And how many fellowships will be assigned for this program? I mean, how many winners, so to speak? How many people will be supported? Also, if you please, based on prior experience, I don't know how long you've been doing these programs. Maybe based on prior experience, you could list the programs that we may choose. I'm just trying to think back after this first contact, at this exchange of information. I'm trying to remember what could be 5 month programs or 6 month programs. I don't think there are many. I don't know how could work out because they're usually longer. And I also ask if these are academic programs or academic institutions that we need to apply to. So I'm in Peru, and in the Amazon there's a program that is called IDCEP. Maybe later I can ask other questions. All right. Maybe you can give us an email where we can ask other questions. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I spoke so long. Thank you. Thank you, Antonieta. Okay, for subprogram 3, it's very competitive. We have fewest fellowships. I don't think it's more than 2. It all depends on where the other candidates apply from. We're gonna try to analyze, but once we have selected the candidates, we'll try to be as efficient as possible. This is the very first time that the IF, the Indigenous Foundation, it's pretty new foundation, based in Panama City, in Panama. It's our first edition of the fellowship program. We do not have any past experiences to share with you, but we know we will have very good results during this first edition. If a program 3 helps you find a program but it lasts more than 4 or 5 months, we are willing to consider it. Yes, not a problem, as long as it's within the $10,000. You just explain it in your application. This recording in the 4 languages of this webinar will be shared in the media, in the social media. In case you could not join from the beginning, you can listen to it all. To know more about the programs, we've already shared the website of the fellowship. It's also in the 4 languages, so look for the language of your preference. and hear and get more details. Oh, one more thing is please do share this information with all your social networks as much as possible. Feel free to share. So we have a lot of candidates and we can keep them in a different database for other trainings in the future. It'll be like our partners or and our possible partners in iPart. Also be reminded that unfortunately the form that we're using to fill out all the application, you need to have a Gmail. You need to have Gmail account. So if you have Yahoo, Hotmail, or other domains in your email, it turns out you're not going to be able to fill out the form. We're trying to sort that out. Okay, we're trying to solve that problem. But in the meantime, we ask you to please open a Gmail account. We'll try to send all the fields that you must complete. So, and you can fill them out, fill out your request, and send it to the email that I've just shared, that we have shared, ifp at fscif.org. If you have any questions, also use the same email address to write to us. We'll receive all the questions for any sub-program. Again, Catherine will be focusing on program sub-program 4, but all the information is found in our website. Okay, let's conclude because it's already 10:01. We need to respect everyone's time. So, we're open to receiving questions whenever you want or need to. Remember, the deadline of the spirited applications is February 28th at 11:59 at night, Panama time in this case, or ET, Washington time, Eastern time. Okay, so let's close. I want to thank everyone for participating. Thank you for sharing the information with others. Follow our social media so that you may get information on webinars or any other information that we may share. And thank you for the questions. Thank you again and have a great day. And have a great day. We wish you all here at IF. Thank you. Bye.